Everybody, welcome to the channel. We're out here in the shop at the moment, but we're not working out here at the moment. Jared and Todd from Jack's Wax are on their way. Todd's wanting to check out his truck. He hasn't even seen it put together yet, so that'll be kind of fun to see his reaction on that. And then Jared is coming because this is his truck, and we're actually going to look at a donor for it today. So I'm going to take you guys along and show you the process of that to keep this truck documented as well in this process. But so we're gonna do that first, but then later in the video, we're gonna try to get the motor in this thing. That is the plan. It is still sitting over here on the floor. It hasn't disappeared yet. But yes, we're gonna try to get it back in this thing so that we can start working on the inside and then the back and the stacks and tanks and wiring and just everything it takes to make this thing run and drive again. So, but that's where we're gonna start the video. So we're waiting on Todd and Jared to get here, and then we'll get going and see if we buy this truck today or not. Are you helping today? Huh? Are you gonna help? You're not going with us though. You gotta stay here. He's going around picking up all kinds of crap around the shop. Well, here it is, Todd. What do you think?
Man, it's came a long ways. And we got some new pieces to add to it.
Got stacks, we got tanks.
Yep.
So we're moving right along. At least we got one stack.
It's gonna be one stack for now.
One stack.
It's gonna be taking shape here real quick now.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's definitely coming along. And we got our 4-door cab over here too. And Jared's happy with it, I think.
Real happy.
So we
see it in person.
Yep, so we'll be working on this one here for too long as well. We're getting ready to go look at this donor truck. I didn't do much filming while we were there. Wasn't sure if the guy wanted to be on film or not, or film this place, so. But I am driving something, so if that tells you anything. It is a 2006 Dodge 3500. It's got a G56 in it. Fairly new engine. It's got like 20,000 miles on it, a lot of new parts. But we're going to get it home, and then I'll take you guys for a walk around and show you what it looks like. And this is going to be the donor truck for Jack's Wax. So excited about that. Next build's coming together. So here's the donor truck for the 4-door cab that's inside. It's an 06 Dodge 3500, extended cab long bed, 2-wheel drive, obviously Cummins. It's got the G56 in it, 6-speed. So it's actually a pretty decent truck, really. I think he might use these seats and just have them recovered in it. Trying to think of what else we're going to use. There's a lot of this truck that's going to be for sale. So it's a very clean truck. So if anybody wants these doors or fenders or brand new wheels and tires, or not wheels, but brand new tires that are on the back, it's got a decent bumper on the back. The tailgate and this back corner of the bed is tore up. So if anybody's wondering, the bed is not near as clean, but the cab is very clean. So if anybody's after any of the parts on it, or the mirrors, or the front tires are decent as well. It's got this big old bumper on the front. So if anybody's after any of them parts, just let me know. All that stuff will be for sale. But the truck's got like 282 on it, I think, miles. But the engine has been rebuilt, so it's only got like 20,000 miles on it. And so is the transmission, so is the rear end. It's got a bunch of new parts under the front end of it, and brakes, and just all kinds of stuff. So that's going to be the donor truck for the Jack Swax 4-door truck once we get started on it. But enough with that truck, because we're not going to work on that here real soon. Maybe in another few weeks to a month or so. But Todd did drop off some stuff. We now have some tanks, and he has one stack that he's got. So just some more parts for getting his truck put together. But we are going to be working on getting the engine in this thing today. That's my plan. Get the mounts moved, figure out how much we're going to move the engine back in the frame and all that kind of stuff. So that's going to be the project for today. And let's see if we can get an engine transmission in this thing today. A little recap. We did get the radiator and intercooler mounted. They're nice and solid in there. The bottom's sitting on little ears that are on, there's little pins that stick out of the bottom of the radiator, kind of like the pins that are up here. So it's sitting in rubber bushings on the bottom. And then these mounts I made, they just bend over and hook to the front of the intercooler on both sides. And that keeps everything nice and secure in there. So pretty happy with how all that turned out. We got good clearance on the frame and above the gearbox. So now it's time to figure out if that thing's going to fit back in here. I did a little rough measuring. I know before I pulled the engine out from this front shell up here, I pretty much was against it. So I didn't really have much. But then when I screwed up with the cab mount, I had to move the cab forward 2 inches. I actually gained 2 inches here, shoved everything out. So that helps a little. But based on the measurement I did from the back of the fans to here, it's going to be somewhere between 8 and 10 inches. So that we're going to have to move everything back. And I don't like stuff super tight. I know that, you know, some people say, hey, you could have tightened this stuff up a little more and gained a little more. But I'd rather stuff have space and not be rubbing, and move the engine a little more than to have stuff too tight and then you got stuff touching or having issues. So that's what I'm going to do. So that frame that we took the back half of this truck off of, when we back halved it, I still have it down in my little graveyard down there in the bottom below the house. I'm going to probably bring it up and cut the motor mounts out of it. And then that way I can leave these in there for mock-up, so I know exactly the distance and the height and all that. And then I'll just put the new ones in, you know, the measurement back, and then weld them in, and then we can cut the front ones off. And then I'll keep these for, you know, a future build. So, and then the rear cross member back there for the transmission, I haven't fully decided because the frame actually bumps out, as you can see there. So that kind of makes me wonder. I may end up just building my new cross member for that, because obviously I can't swell the frame like you can see right there by my finger. It kind of pushes out, and that piece is it's just bent weird, so it'll wedge down in there, I'm assuming. I don't really know, but that's how Dodge did it. So I may end up remaking a whole new piece for the back. This motor will run obviously with the Dodge harness stuff in it, but he kind of doesn't want the Dodge cluster in his. He wants to do some old gauges. So I know there's some people that show how you can run them off of pinning some certain stuff up here. I've watched some videos on that, but I think for cleanliness and to make everything nice, I think we're just going to get a standalone harness for the engine. And then he would have to get a standalone for the transmission and all that too, and a chassis harness. That's kind of the plan. I think that's what we're going to do. Well, I'm probably going to go and lift the cab back off this. All that radiator intercooler stuff should stay in there. It'll just lift off that mount right there. And we'll maybe get the engine kind of ready to be set back in, and we'll go cut some mounts off and see if we can get this thing moved back. Well, here's what we got. So we take a tape and we stick it on that engine mount right there. We measure forward. The furthest point forward on the engine, we'll call it 19 inches, which would be about that fan, where the fan would screw on right there. So I'm going to say 19 inches. So if we got 19 there, and then I come over here, stick the tape through here, come into where that mount is right there. There's 19 inches. So that kind of gives us an idea of where the engine front would be. So then if I take that measurement and then I come to where these fans would be, what about right there would be tight. That's 9 inches. So, and that's with no clearance. So I think what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to move it 10, and then that'll give some clearance between everything. So that's where I came up with my number. If anybody was wondering how I determine how much to move it, that's what I'm going to do. So let's get this cab lifted back off and move everything back 10 inches. We have 2 sets of mounts. They're exactly the same, you know, side to side, forward and back, all the stuff. So happy that I got those in place. They're not completely finished welded. They're welded pretty good, enough that the engine will hang in them fine. But I've double and triple checked everything, so I think we're good. But I'm gonna have to cut these out real quick before I try to set the engine in, because the engine will hit certain parts of that. So I guess it's the point of no return now. So I'm going to get the torch out, and we're going to cut these mounts out to clear the path, and then we'll try to set the engine down in. And as long as the engine mounts grab good, then we'll move on to making a new cross member for the transmission. It fits. I did have to cut a notch out of the frame for the AC compressor. I forgot about that. I had to do that with mine, but don't worry, I'll plate all that back in. It'll be all nice and strong. But we're down in our engine mounts, so now it's just a matter of coming back here and getting a new mount underneath the back of the transmission, and this thing will be sitting back where it's supposed to be again. Here's what we got for a cross member. Got a piece of 2x4 square tubing. It's pretty thick. I've got it slotted so that it can slide back and forth. It's like it was on the original mount. And then I got holes opened up on the bottom so that you can put the nut up from the bottom. And then I got these brackets here that I cut out that you'll be able to go from the frame down like this, and then I'll weld them to the frame back here, and then there'll be a 1/2-inch bolt that'll go through at the bottom. So I'm gonna tack those in on both sides and get the hole located, and then get the hole drilled through this and set it down. It'll be done. Have it. The lift's off of it. Transmission sitting on its own cross member. Yes, I'm going to clean those up some. I'm probably going to, at least come up and round them off or do something, and then I'll probably box the tops in, and I'm going to probably box these sides in just to make it look better. But for now, I just want to make sure it's going to fit under here nice. So I'm going to roll this thing forward and set the cab back down and make sure everything's happy. sitting back down on there. Definitely have to clearance some stuff a little more. Just don't quite have enough room for some stuff, and we're right down against the, real close to the turbo. So have clearance some more of that out. We do have plenty of room up front here. I'm happy with that. Like I said, I'd rather have space than be super tight. I mean, if you ever need to change pulleys or water pumps or anything, it's just nice to have space rather than everything jammed up real tight. But inside, it's looking okay too, other than we are sitting on top of the transmission with that center here, which is not a big deal. Just got to trim a little bit out so it sits down. But you can see that the bushings are off just a tiny bit. So, but all the mounts and everything line back up. So that's where that engine's going to end up living at. So pretty happy with how that's turning out so far. And yeah, we got a motor in it. So I am going to have to pull it back out and, you know, finish welding all of the engine mounts, and I got to rebox this piece back in and the stuff I showed you on the transmission cross member back here. So yes, there is more stuff I'm going to be doing to finish it up, but I think that's probably going to do it for tonight. But with all that being said, I think truck's definitely coming along, definitely moving forward, so I'm happy with all that. And yeah, there's some little stuff I'm going to have to tie up, some odds and ends, but for the most part, it's coming together nicely. But that's going to do it for this video. Appreciate you guys watching. God bless. We'll see you on the next one.